Most people live their entire lives in a state of constant reaction. They react to the ping of a notification, the opinions of people who don't matter, and the internal whims of a mind that hasn't been trained to focus. They spend years drifting, wondering why their bank accounts, their bodies, and their mental clarity remain stagnant. They are waiting for a lucky break, or a sign that never comes. But there's a small percentage of individuals who understand a secret that the rest of the world ignores. Growth happens in the dark. True transformation doesn't require a spotlight. It requires a blackout. It requires a period of time where you stop explaining yourself, stop seeking validation, and stop trying to prove your worth to a world that isn't paying attention anyway. This is the concept of monk mode, a 6-month window of absolute, ruthless self-obsession. If you have the courage to disappear for 180 days, to put your head down, master your impulses, and work on your craft with the intensity of a fanatic, you will emerge as someone unrecognizable. When you finally reappear, you won't have to tell people you've changed. They will feel it. They will see it in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, and the results you've produced while they were busy watching the clock. This isn't just about getting productive. This is about a total systemic reset. Over the next 6 months, we're going to dismantle the version of you that is tired, distracted, and settled for good enough. We are going to replace it with a version that is disciplined, stoic, and financially dangerous. Most people cannot handle 6 months of solitude. They are addicted to the noise. They are terrified of what they might find if they sit in a room alone with their own thoughts. But for those who can endure the isolation, the rewards are generational. You aren't just changing your habits, you are changing your trajectory. In this journey, we will explore the 10 pillars of the ultimate self-reinvention. We will discuss the dopamine detox, the physical forge, and the loneliness of growth. We will teach you how to react to nothing so that you can conquer everything. The clock is starting now. You have 2 choices: continue the cycle of someday, or decide that the next 6 months will be the hardest and most rewarding period of your entire life. It's time to stop talking and start becoming. It is time to shock everyone by focusing entirely on yourself. Chapter 1. The Decision to Disappear. The most powerful move you can make in a world obsessed with being seen is to become invisible. We live in an era of digital exhibitionism, where every meal, every workout, and every minor achievement is broadcasted for a dopamine hit of likes and comments. People are so busy documenting their lives that they forget to actually build them. They are performing for an audience that doesn't care, seeking validation from people they don't even like. If you want to achieve something that 99% of the population will never touch, you must be willing to do what 99% of the population is terrified of doing. You must decide to disappear. The decision to disappear is not about running away. It is about intentional withdrawal. It is the realization that your current social circle, your current habits, and your constant accessibility are the very things keeping you tethered to mediocrity. You cannot build a new version of yourself while clinging to the environment that created the old one. To transform, you must enter a period of monk mode, a strategic blackout where your only focus is the internal forge. This is the moment you stop explaining your plans and start executing them in the shadows. When you tell people about your big goals, your brain receives a premature sense of accomplishment. You get a rush of satisfaction just by saying, "I'm going to start a business," or "I'm going to get in the best shape of my life." This social reality creates a false sense of progress. By disappearing, you cut off that cheap source of dopamine. You starve your ego of the praise it hasn't earned yet. In the silence of disappearance, the only way to feel good is to actually do the work. There is no audience to applaud your intentions, so you are forced to produce results. This first stage of your 6-month metamorphosis requires a ruthless audit of your environment. You must identify the energy leaks in your life, the group chats that drain your time, the friends who only want to talk about the past, and the social obligations that yield zero growth. Disappearing means setting boundaries that feel like walls to others. It means turning down invitations without offering a long-winded excuse. "I'm busy" is a complete sentence. "I'm working on myself" is all the explanation the world deserves. If people take offense to your absence, it is usually because your presence was a convenience for them, not a necessity. The psychology of silence is your greatest weapon. When you stop posting, stop texting back instantly, and stop showing up at the usual spots, people begin to wonder. But their curiosity is irrelevant to your mission. The real benefit of silence is that it allows you to hear your own thoughts for the first time in years. Most people are walking around with a mind full of other people's opinions, trending topics, and societal expectations. When you disappear, that noise begins to fade. In that void, you find your true signal. You discover what you actually want, not what you were told to want. During these first 30 days of disappearance, the urge to return to the light will be intense. You will feel a sense of FOMO, the fear of missing out. You'll wonder what your friends are doing, what's happening on the news, or if people are forgetting about you. Let them forget. In fact, hope they do. There is a profound freedom in being forgotten. When no one expects anything from you, you are free to become anything. The pressure to maintain an image vanishes. You are no longer the funny guy, the reliable friend, or the person who always struggles. You are a blank canvas. The decision to disappear is also a commitment to extreme ownership of your time. In the normal world, time is something to be killed or passed. In monk mode, time is the currency you use to buy your future self. Every hour you spend in isolation is an hour invested in a skill, a business, or a mindset shift. You start to see the world as a series of trades. Is an evening of drinking worth the brain fog that ruins tomorrow's deep work? Is an hour of scrolling worth the anxiety of comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel? When you are invisible, the answer becomes a resounding no. This chapter of your life is about building a mental fortress. Most people are emotionally fragile because they are constantly exposed to the shifting winds of public opinion. By withdrawing, you are practicing the art of non-reaction. You are learning to be okay with being misunderstood. You are learning that your value is not determined by how many people have access to you. True power is the ability to walk away from anything that does not serve your higher purpose. As you navigate this first month of being gone, you will notice a shift in your internal chemistry. The anxiety of needing to be in the loop will be replaced by a calm, steady focus. You will start to take pride in your secrecy. There is a massive power dynamic shift when you know something about your progress that the world doesn't. While others are shouting about their minor wins, you are sitting on a mountain of quiet momentum. You are the predator in the tall grass, silent and focused, while the prey is making noise. Remember, the goal of disappearing isn't to stay hidden forever. It is to emerge so high level that your return creates a shockwave. But that emergence is months away. For now, your job is to embrace the shadows. Fall in love with the boredom of the grind. Find peace in the solitude. The people who are comfortable being alone are the most dangerous people on the planet because they cannot be manipulated by the threat of exclusion. By the end of this first stage, you will have reclaimed hundreds of hours and a massive amount of mental bandwidth. You will have successfully detached your identity from the opinions of the collective. You are now ready to begin the heavy lifting. The door is closed. The world is locked out. The forge is hot. You have decided to disappear, and in that disappearance, you have finally found the space to grow. Chapter 2. Killing the old version of you. Transformation is not an addition, it is a subtraction. Most people fail at self-improvement because they try to build a new me on top of the rotting foundation of the old me. They try to add a gym habit to a body that is still fueled by junk food and late nights. They try to add a business mindset to a brain that is still addicted to cheap entertainment and gossip. They are trying to decorate a house that is currently on fire. If you want to move forward, you must first have the courage to burn the bridge to who you used to be. You must commit a form of psychological ego death. You must kill the old version of yourself. This process is uncomfortable, and for many, it is deeply painful. The old you is a collection of safety mechanisms, comfort zones, and familiar failures. It is the version of you that knows exactly how to procrastinate to avoid the fear of judgment. It is the version of you that stays in toxic relationships because being alone feels like a vacuum. It is the version of you that identifies as lazy, anxious, or unlucky because those labels provide an excuse for not trying. To kill this version, you have to stop identifying with your limitations. You have to realize that the person you were yesterday is a ghost that only has power if you continue to give it a voice. The first step in this internal execution is the audit of identity. Ask yourself, who is the person currently inhabiting my skin? Is it a person of discipline or a person of convenience? Is it someone who keeps promises to themselves or someone who negotiates with their own potential? Most people are living out a script written by their childhood insecurities, their parents' expectations, or their friends' mediocrity. Killing the old version means tearing up that script. It means looking in the mirror and admitting, the person I have been is not the person who will achieve my goals. This isn't self-hatred, it is radical honesty. It is the prerequisite for rebirth. To kill the old self, you must go after the environment of comfort. Your physical surroundings are a reflection of your internal state. If your room is a mess, if your desktop is cluttered, if your fridge is full of poison, you are constantly being reminded of the old you. You are anchored to your past. In this stage of your 6-month journey, you must perform a scorched earth policy on your environment. Delete the apps that act as your escape hatches. Throw away the clothes that represent a version of you that was sloppy or indifferent. Block the contacts who only reach out to pull you back into the old days. If your environment doesn't look like your future, it is actively dragging you back into your past. One of the hardest parts of this execution is the social severance. There are people in your life who love the old you because that version of you makes them feel safe. As long as you are struggling, as long as you are distracted, and as long as you are settling for less, they don't have to look at their own stagnation. When you start to kill that version of yourself, they will feel threatened. They will call you different. They will say you've changed, or they will try to guilt trip you back into your old habits. You must understand that you cannot take everyone with you to the top. Killing the old you often means killing the old US. It means accepting that some friendships were built on a shared foundation of bad habits, and once those habits are gone, there is nothing left to hold the relationship together. Next, you must attack the language of limitation. The old version of you lives in your vocabulary. It says things like, I'm just not a morning person, I've always been bad with money, or I wish I could do that, but... Every time you speak these words, you are performing CPR on the ghost of your past. You are keeping the old version alive. To kill it, you must adopt the language of the person you are becoming. You don't try to work out, you are an athlete. You don't want to be successful, you are a builder. You must speak with the authority of the person you will be in 6 months. Your words are the bricks of your new reality. Stop using them to rebuild your old prison. The death of the old self also requires a dopamine realignment. The old you is a slave to the cheap win. It felt productive by watching how-to videos without taking action. It felt social by scrolling through feeds. It felt satisfied by eating sugar and watching pornography. These are all biological shortcuts that trick your brain into thinking you've won when you've actually lost. Killing the old you means cutting off these artificial lifelines. You must enter a period of boredom therapy. You must allow yourself to feel the itch of the old habits and refuse to scratch it. This is where the real battle happens. In the space between the impulse and the action, you find the power to choose a new identity. As the old version of you dies, you will experience a period of emptiness. This is the liminal space, the gap between who you were and who you are becoming. It is the most dangerous part of the 6-month transformation. Because the new version isn't fully formed yet, you will feel exposed. You will feel like an imposter. You might even feel a strange sense of grief for the person you used to be. This is normal. A seed must completely disintegrate before the tree can grow. Do not rush to fill the void with new distractions. Sit in the silence. Let the old version of you finish dying. Killing the old you is a daily practice. It isn't a one-time event. It is a series of small, ruthless decisions. It's choosing the cold shower when your old self wants the warmth. It's choosing the difficult conversation when your old self wants to hide. It's choosing the deep work when your old self wants to scroll. Every time you choose the hard path, you are driving another nail into the coffin of the person you used to be. By the end of this stage, you will feel lighter. The baggage of past failures and the weight of other people's expectations will start to fall away. You are no longer defined by what you did 5 years ago or even 5 days ago. You are a ghost to your old life, and that makes you free. You have cleared the ground. You have demolished the old structure. Now, and only now, are you ready to build something that will shock the world? Chapter 3. The Dopamine Detox. To transform your life in 6 months, you must first reclaim your brain. We live in an era of neurological hijacking. Every app on your phone, every recommended video, and every infinite scroll has been engineered by thousands of the world's smartest engineers to do one thing: capture your attention and harvest your dopamine. Your brain, evolved over millions of years to seek out scarce rewards like calorie-dense food or social bonding, is now being bombarded by a digital fire hose of high-intensity stimulation. You are not lazy or unmotivated. You are overstimulated. Your reward system is broken, and until you fix it, no amount of willpower can save you. Dopamine is the molecule of pursuit, not pleasure. It is the chemical that tells your brain something important is about to happen. Go get it. In the natural world, dopamine was triggered by the hunt, the harvest, or the struggle. It drove us to exert effort to survive. But in the modern world, we have decoupled dopamine from effort. You can get a massive spike of dopamine by moving your thumb 2 inches on a glass screen. You can get it by watching a 30-second clip of someone else's success. You can get it by eating a processed snack that contains more sugar than your ancestors would find in a month. This is cheap dopamine, and it is the primary reason the old version of you was stuck in a loop of procrastination and brain fog. When you flood your brain with cheap dopamine, your receptors downregulate. To protect itself from the overstimulation, your brain reduces its sensitivity. This is why, after an hour of scrolling, you feel numb. It's why the things that actually matter, reading a difficult book, building a business, or working out, feel boring or physically painful. Your brain has been calibrated to a level of intensity that reality cannot match. To shock everyone in 6 months, you must reset your baseline. You must enter a dopamine detox. The detox is not about hating technology. It's about regaining sovereignty. For the next phase of your disappearance, you are going to remove every artificial shortcut to satisfaction. This starts with a digital cleanse. For a set period, ideally the first 30 days of your 6-month window, you must delete the infinite scroll apps. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter are designed to keep you in a state of variable reward, which is the same psychological mechanism that keeps people addicted to slot machines. You never know what the next post will be, so you keep scrolling, hoping for a hit. By removing these, you stop the hemorrhage of your mental energy. Next, you must address the consumption to creation ratio. Most people spend 90% of their time consuming and 10% creating. During your detox, you must flip this. If you are not using a device to produce value, to learn a specific skill, or to communicate a vital message, the device stays off. You are no longer a consumer of other people's lives. You are the architect of your own. This means no background noise, YouTube videos while you eat. No podcasts while you walk to the store. No music to drown out the silence of your own thoughts. You are training your brain to exist in the void again. It is in this void that original ideas are born. The detox also requires a nutritional reset. High fructose corn syrup and processed fats trigger the same reward centers in the brain as addictive drugs. When you are constantly spiking your blood sugar, your focus is at the mercy of your insulin levels. You cannot think clearly if you are crashing every 3 hours. To master yourself, you must simplify your fuel. Eat for function, not for entertainment. When you remove the hyperpalatable food-like substances from your diet, your taste buds, and your brain begin to recalibrate. Eventually, a simple meal or a piece of fruit will provide more genuine satisfaction than a fast food binge ever did. As you move through the first week of the detox, you will experience withdrawal. You will feel restless. You will reach for your pocket to check a phone that isn't there. You will feel a strange sense of boredom that almost feels like physical itching. This is the boredom threshold. Most people hit this wall and immediately turn back to their old habits. They think, this is boring, I'm wasting time. But boredom is the gateway to focus. On the other side of that, it is a state of mind called deep work. When your brain realizes it isn't going to get a cheap hit of dopamine, it begins to look for satisfaction in the task at hand. Suddenly, the book you're reading becomes fascinating. The code you're writing becomes a puzzle to solve. The workout becomes a meditative experience. This recalibration is your secret advantage. While the rest of the world is distracted, anxious, and unable to focus for more than 10 seconds, you are developing the ability to concentrate for hours. In the economy of 2026, focus is the rarest and most valuable commodity. By detoxing your dopamine, you are essentially upgrading your hardware. You are taking a cluttered, overheated processor and clearing the cache so it can run at maximum speed. The dopamine detox also changes your social dynamics. When you are no longer seeking likes or digital validation, you stop performing for others. You become less needy. You become more grounded. Your self-esteem stops being a fluctuating graph based on external metrics and becomes a steady internal flame. You begin to value long-term rewards over short-term gratification. You start to find more joy in the process of building a $10,000 a month business over 6 months than in the 10-second rush of a viral comment. During this 6-month transformation, the detox isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle shift. You will eventually bring some tools back, but you will use them as a master, not a slave. You will check your emails at a specific time, not every time a notification pops up. You will use social media to post your results, not to watch others. You will have regained control over your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-control. When you have a clean brain, your execution becomes effortless. The friction that used to exist between knowing what to do and actually doing it disappears. You no longer have to fight yourself to go to the gym or work on your project. Your brain is now wired to seek the dopamine that comes from achievement, not from observation. This is how you shock everyone. While they were busy chasing digital ghosts, you were building a reality they can no longer ignore. By the end of this chapter, your mind should feel like a sharpened blade. The fog is lifting. The noise is dying down. You have killed the old version of yourself, and you have cleaned the lens through which you see the world. Now it is time to take this mental clarity and apply it to the most important project you will ever work on, your own physical and financial foundation. Chapter 4. The Physical Forge. There is a common misconception in the world of self-improvement that the mind and the body are separate entities. People believe they can master their business, their finances, or their relationships while letting their physical vessel decay. They treat their body like a secondary thought, a biological taxi that carries their brain from one meeting to the next. But during this 6-month transformation, you must understand a fundamental truth. Your body is the antenna for your mind. If the antenna is broken, the signal is weak. If the forge is cold, the sword cannot be shaped. To shock everyone in 180 days, you cannot just think your way to a new life. You must build the physical infrastructure to support it. The physical forge is not about vanity. It is not about chasing a six-pack for the sake of a summer beach photo. It is about biological integrity. When you are physically weak, your stress threshold is low. When your cardiovascular system is sluggish, your cognitive endurance withers after 2 hours of deep work. When your hormones are imbalanced due to lack of movement and poor sleep, your discipline becomes a fragile glass ornament that shatters at the first sign of inconvenience. By entering the forge, you are hardening your central nervous system. You are teaching your brain that discomfort is not a signal to quit, but a signal to adapt. The first law of the forge is resistance. You must subject your muscles and your bones to a load they are not used to. Whether it is lifting heavy iron, mastering your own body weight through calisthenics, or pushing against the resistance of the elements, the act of physical struggle is a direct metaphor for life. Every repetition where you want to stop, but you choose to continue, is a victory for your prefrontal cortex over your primitive, comfort-seeking brain. You are literally rewiring your grit. Over 6 months, as your muscles grow and your posture shifts, your internal self-image shifts with it. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes to succeed and start seeing yourself as someone who endures until they succeed. The second law of the Forge is metabolic discipline. Your energy levels are the fuel for your transformation. Most people operate at 40% of their potential energy because they are constantly clogging their systems with inflammation. In the Forge, you treat your nutrition as a high-performance chemical formula. You are no longer eating for taste or comfort. You are eating for recovery and clarity. You prioritize protein to rebuild the tissues you've challenged, healthy fats to stabilize your hormones, and complex nutrients to fuel your brain. When you clean up your fuel, the brain fog that plagued the old version of you vanishes. You suddenly find that you don't need 5 cups of coffee to function. You have a steady, burning pilot light of natural energy that lasts from sunrise to sunset. The third law, and perhaps the most overlooked, is the architecture of sleep. During this 6-month monk mode, sleep is not a luxury. It is a weapon. It is the time when your brain performs autophagy, literally cleaning out the cellular waste of the day. It is when your memories are consolidated and your physical repairs are completed. If you are sleeping 4 hours a night to grind, you are actually sabotaging your progress. You are showing up to the battlefield with a rusted blade. True masters of the Forge protect their sleep with a religious intensity. They understand that 1 hour of highly focused, well-rested work is worth 10 hours of exhausted, distracted, busy work. As you progress through the second and third months of the Forge, something strange begins to happen. People will start to look at you differently. This is the first shock in the shock everyone framework. It isn't just about the muscle mass or the weight loss. It's about the intensity of your presence. Physical fitness changes your pheromones, your voice projection, and your eye contact. When you know you have conquered the iron at 5 a.m., you walk into a boardroom or a social setting with a quiet confidence that cannot be faked. You aren't trying to look alpha. You are simply the most disciplined person in the room, and everyone's subconscious picks up on that signal. The Forge also teaches you the power of consistency over intensity. Many people start a transformation by going to the gym for 4 hours on Monday and then quitting by Thursday because they are too sore to move. That is the old you. The new you understands that the Forge requires a steady daily heat. It is better to do 30 minutes of focused movement every single day for 6 months than to do 5 hours once a week. You are building a habitual momentum. After 90 days, the gym or the track is no longer a place you have to go. It is your sanctuary. It is the place where you prove to yourself that you are still the master of your own meat suit. However, the Forge is not just about the external. It is about internal resilience. During these 6 months, you will face dark days. Days when the business isn't growing, the bank account is low, or the loneliness of disappearance starts to ache. On those days, the Forge is what saves you. When your world feels out of control, you can still control your breathing. You can still control your form on a squat. You can still control the miles you run. Physical training provides a floor for your mental health. It ensures that even on your worst days, you have achieved a tangible victory. You have moved the needle. In the final months of this transformation, your physical vessel becomes the external proof of your internal work. When people see you after 180 days, the first thing they will notice is the Forge effect. They see the sharp jawline, the clear skin, the upright posture, and the steady gaze. They see a person who has clearly undergone a trial. You have burned away the softness. You have melted down the weak, indecisive version of yourself and hammered out a version that is resilient, high output, and intimidatingly focused. The physical Forge is the foundation upon which all your other successes will be built. You cannot build a billion-dollar empire in a 10-cent body. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead your own limbs. By mastering the physical, you earn the right to master the financial and the emotional. You have proven that you are a person of action, not just a person of ideas. The sword is now tempered. It is sharp, it is heavy, and it is ready for the next stage of the battle. Chapter 5. Master your mornings. If you want to own the day, you must first own the dawn. Most people begin their mornings in a state of physiological and mental defeat. They are startled awake by a harsh alarm, reaching for their phones before their eyes are even fully open. Within seconds, they are reacting to emails, reacting to news, reacting to the curated lives of others on social media. They have surrendered their most valuable mental real estate to the world before they have even stood up. By 8 a.m., their focus is already fragmented, their willpower is already leaking, and they are playing catch-up for the rest of the day. To shock everyone in 6 months, you must treat your morning not as a transition, but as a battlefield where the victory of the day is decided. The Master Your Mornings philosophy is rooted in the concept of front-loading victory. Your willpower is a finite resource that depletes as the day progresses. Every decision you make, what to wear, what to eat, how to respond to an annoying text, siphons off a bit of your cognitive fuel. By the time evening rolls around, most people are decision fatigued, which is why they default to Netflix and junk food. The 1% understand this, so they automate their mornings to ensure that the most difficult, most important tasks are completed while their willpower is at its peak. When you master your morning, you are essentially buying the rest of your day with the discipline you exerted before the sun came up. The first rule of the morning is the no-phone zone. For the first 60 to 90 minutes of your day, your phone is a brick. It does not exist. When you check your phone immediately upon waking, you are inviting 1,000 different voices into your head. You are placing your brain in a reactive state rather than a proactive one. You are allowing the world's agenda to override your own. During your 6-month transformation, this boundary is non-negotiable. You need this time to calibrate your internal compass. You need to remind yourself who you are and what your mission is before the noise of the collective tries to tell you otherwise. The second pillar of a mastered morning is physical activation. You do not need a 2-hour workout at 5 a.m. to be successful, but you do need to signal to your nervous system that the hunt has begun. This could be a 10-minute stretching routine, a brisk walk, or a set of explosive movements like push-ups or air squats. The goal is to move your lymphatic system, increase blood flow to the brain, and spike your cortisol levels naturally. This is followed by the cold reset, a cold shower. The primary benefit of a cold shower isn't just the metabolic boost. It is the psychological victory of doing something difficult first thing in the morning. When you voluntarily step into freezing water, you are telling your lizard brain that you are the boss. You are training yourself to lean into discomfort rather than flinch away from it. The third pillar is cognitive priming. While your coffee is brewing or while you sit in the stillness of your disappeared life, you must feed your mind. This is not the time for entertainment. It is the time for philosophy, strategy, or skill acquisition. Spend 20 minutes reading a book that challenges your current level of thinking. Journal your primary targets for the day, not a 20-item to-do list, but the 3 needle movers that will actually change your life. Visualization is often dismissed as woo-woo, but at a neurological level, it is simply mental rehearsal. See yourself executing your tasks with precision. See yourself reacting to setbacks with stoicism. By the time you start your workday, you have already lived a successful version of it in your mind. The fourth pillar is the deep work block. This is where the magic happens. Before the world wakes up, before the Slack notifications start chiming and the family needs attention, you have a window of golden time. This is when you tackle your most cognitively demanding task. For a scriptwriter, it's writing the next 1,000 words. For a programmer, it's solving the most complex bug. For an entrepreneur, it's the strategic planning that moves the business forward. Most people spend their best hours on shallow work, like answering emails or attending status meetings. The person who shocks everyone is the person who has already done 4 hours of high-leverage work before their competition has even finished their first cup of coffee. Mastering your morning also requires mastering your evening. You cannot have a high-performance morning if you had a low-performance night. A successful 5 a.m. start begins at 9 p.m. the night before. This means a digital sunset, turning off blue light screens an hour before bed to allow your melatonin to rise naturally. It means preparing your environment, laying out your gym clothes, setting up your workspace, and deciding on your top 3 tasks. When you wake up, there should be zero friction between you and your routine. You shouldn't have to think. You should only have to execute. As you move through your 6-month metamorphosis, your morning routine will become your anchor. There will be days when you feel unmotivated, days when the old you tries to crawl back into bed and hide from the world. On those days, your routine carries you. You don't ask yourself how you feel about getting up. You just get up because that is what the new version of you does. You are building a compounding interest of discipline. 1 disciplined morning is a win. 7 in a row is a streak. 6 months of them is a new identity. The shock factor comes from the sheer volume of output you will produce. While others are trying to get into the flow, by 11 a.m., you are already finishing your day's most important work. You are essentially living 2 days for every one of theirs. Over 180 days. That leads to a staggering lead. People will ask you, how did you get so much done? Or when do you find time? They won't understand that you didn't find the time. You commanded it. You reclaimed the hours that everyone else throws away in a haze of snooze buttons and scrolling. By mastering your morning, you are creating a buffer of success. Even if the rest of your day goes to hell, if the car breaks down, if a client cancels, if you get bad news, you have already won the morning. You have already invested in your mind, your body, and your mission. You have built a foundation of self-respect that no external event can take away. You are no longer a victim of the day. You are the commander of it. And when you command your days, you eventually command your destiny. Chapter 6. Financial Ghosting. The final and perhaps most tangible stage of your disappearance is the restructuring of your economic reality. Most people are financial performers. They earn money not to build freedom, but to buy the symbols of status that convince others they are successful. They are trapped in a cycle of high consumption and high visibility, leased cars, financed designer clothes, and expensive dinners that serve as backdrops for social media posts. They are rich in appearances, but bankrupt in sovereignty. To shock everyone in 6 months, you must engage in financial ghosting. You must stop spending on the audience and start investing in the architect. Financial ghosting is the strategic withdrawal of your capital from the consumer economy and the aggressive redirection of those funds into your own skill acquisition and asset building. It is the economic equivalent of monk mode. For the next 180 days, your goal is to become a financial ghost, someone whose income is rising in the dark while their lifestyle remains invisible, or even regresses into radical simplicity. You are not saving money in the traditional passive sense. You are hoarding ammunition for your future. The first law of financial ghosting is the death of the ego purchase. During these 6 months, you must develop a visceral disgust for lifestyle creep. Every dollar you spend on a status symbol is a dollar you have stolen from your future freedom. If you buy a new pair of shoes to feel good, you are trading a permanent shift in your life trajectory for a 20-minute hit of dopamine. In the ghost phase, you wear the same 5 outfits. You drive the older car. You cancel the subscriptions that provide passive entertainment. You treat your capital with a level of respect that borders on the religious. When you stop trying to look like money, you finally have the bandwidth to make money. The second law is skill stacking in the shadows. The most valuable asset you possess is not your bank balance. It is your earning capacity. During your period of disappearance, you must identify the high-leverage skills that the market of 2026 demands: AI integration, high-ticket sales, systems architecture, or specialized content creation. Most people wish they had more money. A ghost builds more value. You use the hours you reclaimed in Chapter 5 to obsessively master a craft. While your old friends are spending their weekends spending money, you are spending your weekends becoming more valuable. You are ghosting the social scene to attend the University of Self. By the time you emerge, you won't just have a different bank balance. You will have a different DNA of competence. The third law is the strategic use of debt and capital. In the modern world, most people use debt as a consumer trap. They use it to buy things that lose value the moment they leave the store. Financial ghosting involves flipping the script. You treat debt not as a burden, but as a tool. If and only if it is used to acquire an asset that produces cash flow or multiplies your productivity. You become a student of financial engineering. You learn how to leverage systems, not just your own time. You stop working for a paycheck and start building a machine. Whether it's a digital product, a YouTube channel, or a service-based business, your goal is to create a vehicle that works while you sleep. A critical component of this chapter is the privacy of your progress. When you start making more money, the instinct of the old you will be to announce it. You'll want to show the haters. You'll want to prove you've made it. Resist this. There is a massive psychological advantage to being underrated. When people think you are struggling or just getting by, they leave you alone. They don't ask for favors. They don't try to distract you. They don't compete with you. By ghosting your financial wins, you protect your focus. You build a war chest in silence. There is no greater feeling of power than walking into a room knowing you have $50,000 in liquid capital while everyone else assumes you're broke because you're wearing a plain black t-shirt. Financial ghosting also requires an audit of your human liabilities. Money is a social magnet, and often it attracts the wrong metal. During your 6-month transformation, you will notice that some people are only in your life because of what you can do for them financially or the vibe your spending provides. When you ghost the expensive outings and the treat everyone mentality, these people will naturally drift away. This is a feature, not a bug. You are filtering for loyalty. The people who stay by your side when you are living on a ghost budget are the ones who deserve to be there when you are living in abundance. During the 4th and 5th months of this process, the compounding effect will take hold. Because you have cut your expenses to the bone and increased your skill set, your margin begins to explode. This is where you move from survival to attack mode. You begin to reinvest every spare cent back into your business or your education. You buy the software that saves you 10 hours a week. You hire the virtual assistant who handles the low-level tasks. You pay for the mentorship that skips you 3 years ahead in the learning curve. You are no longer saving for a rainy day. You are funding a lightning strike. The shock at the end of the 6 months isn't just that you have more money. It's that you have financial fortitude. You have proven to yourself that you don't need the bells and whistles of modern consumerism to be happy. You have broken the chains of paycheck-to-paycheck anxiety. When you finally reappear, your wealth won't be something you wear. It will be something you are. It will be visible in your lack of desperation. It will be visible in your ability to say no to mediocre opportunities because you don't need the money anymore. Financial ghosting is about buying back your soul from the corporate and consumer matrix. It is about realizing that money is just stored energy, and most people are leaking their energy everywhere. By sealing those leaks, you become a powerhouse. You are building a foundation so strong that even if the economy collapses, you remain unshakable. You are the ghost in the machine, quietly accumulating the resources to play the game on your own terms. Chapter 7. Emotional Stoicism. The most dangerous person on the planet is not the one with the most money, the biggest muscles, or the highest IQ. The most dangerous person is the one who has mastered their internal climate, the one who can remain calm while everyone else is panicking, and silent while everyone else is shouting. During your 6-month transformation, you will face external storms. People will criticize your absence. Your business ventures may hit walls, and your old habits will scream for attention. To survive these 180 days and emerge as a leader, you must develop emotional stoicism. You must learn the art of reacting to nothing so that you can conquer everything. Most people are emotional puppets. Their mood is determined by the weather, the traffic, a comment on a screen, or the tone of a partner's voice. They are constantly being jerked around by external stimuli. If the world is kind to them, they are happy. If the world is harsh, they are miserable. This is a state of psychological slavery. When you are reactive, you are predictable. And when you are predictable, you are easily manipulated. Emotional stoicism is the process of cutting the strings. It is about building an internal citadel that no external event can breach. The first principle of the Stoic Forge is the dichotomy of control. This is the fundamental realization that the universe is divided into two categories: things you can control and things you cannot. You cannot control the economy, the algorithm, or the opinions of your former friends. You can control your effort, your perspective, and your response. Most people leak 90% of their mental energy agonizing over the uncontrollables. They worry about what people are saying behind their backs, or why a project didn't go viral. A Stoic recognizes this as a waste of life force. When a setback occurs, the Stoic asks one question: is this within my control? If the answer is no, it is discarded. If the answer is yes, it is addressed with cold, clinical precision. The second principle is the gap between stimulus and response. Between every event that happens to you and your reaction to it, there is a tiny window of time. In that window lies your freedom. The old you reacted instantly, with anger, with defensive excuses, or with anxiety. The new you uses that gap to breathe. You observe the emotion rising like a wave, but you do not let it sweep you away. You say to yourself, I am feeling anger right now, but you do not become the anger. This detachment is your superpower. It allows you to make decisions based on logic and long-term goals, rather than short-term impulses. When you stop reacting, you stop giving away your power. In your 6 months of disappearance, you must practice voluntary discomfort. Stoicism isn't just about thinking. It's about training the nervous system. This is why you take the cold showers discussed in Chapter 4, and why you skip meals or sleep on the floor occasionally. You are proving to your brain that discomfort is not danger. You are teaching yourself that you can be hungry, tired, or cold and still be okay. When you have survived self-imposed hardship, the hardships the world throws at you feel insignificant. You become anti-fragile. You don't just endure stress. You grow stronger because of it. A vital component of emotional stoicism is the death of the need for validation. One of the main reasons you disappeared was to starve your ego. The ego is a bottomless pit that demands constant likes and good jobs to stay satisfied. When you are emotionally stoic, your self-worth is generated internally. You do the work because the work is worth doing, not because you want someone to notice. This makes you incredibly resilient. If people praise you, it doesn't go to your head. If they insult you, it doesn't reach your heart. You have become your own highest authority. During the middle months of your transformation, you will likely face the test of silence. People may try to provoke you. They may mock your new lifestyle, or try to bait you into an argument to see if the old you is still there. This is your greatest opportunity. Every time you refuse to defend yourself, every time you choose silence over a clever comeback, you win. There is a terrifying power in a person who cannot be provoked. It signals that you are operating on a frequency they cannot reach. You are playing a long game, and they are stuck in the now. The Stoic also practices premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Every morning, as part of your routine, you briefly visualize the things that could go wrong. You imagine your laptop breaking, a client leaving, or a person letting you down. You don't do this to be a pessimist. You do it to defang the event. If you have already lived through the setback in your mind, you won't be paralyzed when it happens in reality. You will have a plan. You will say, I expected this, and you will move to the next step. You have removed the element of surprise from your enemies. Finally, emotional stoicism is about a more fatty, a love of fate. It is the ability to look at every challenge, every failure, and every bad day and say, this is exactly what I needed to grow. You stop wishing things were easier and start wishing you were better. You realize that the shock you want to deliver to the world at the end of these 6 months is not just about your bank account or your muscles. It's about your unshakable spirit. You want people to look at you and wonder why nothing seems to rattle you. By the end of this chapter, you should feel a sense of profound inner stillness. The frantic, anxious energy of your past has been replaced by a deep, quiet confidence. You are no longer a passenger in your own mind. You are the captain. You have built your citadel. You are focused on yourself, not because of vanity, but because you are the only instrument you have to change the world. You are now emotionally prepared for the final, most intense stretch of your journey. Chapter 8. The Power of Deep Work. If the first 7 chapters were about clearing the land and building the fortress, Chapter 8 is about the engine that drives the entire machine. In the modern economy, we are drowning in shallow work, the constant checking of emails, the mindless meetings, and the fragmented focus of multitasking. Shallow work keeps you busy, but it does not move the needle. It is the visual equivalent of treading water. You are exhausted, but you haven't moved an inch. To shock everyone in 6 months, you must master deep work. This is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It is a superpower in the 21st century, and it is the only way to achieve in 180 days what takes others 10 years. Deep work is not a productivity hack. It is a state of neurological peak performance. When you focus intensely on a single task, whether it is writing a complex script, coding a new platform, or strategizing a market entry, your brain begins to fire in a specific pattern. You enter flow. In this state, your prefrontal cortex operates at maximum efficiency, and your brain begins to wrap myelin around the relevant neural pathways. Myelin is the fatty tissue that insulates your neurons, allowing signals to travel faster and more accurately. Essentially, deep work is the process of physically hardwiring your brain to be elite at your craft. The first rule of deep work is the total elimination of context switching. Every time you stop your work to check a quick notification or answer a text, you pay what psychologists call an attention residue tax. Even after you return to your task, a part of your brain is still thinking about that text or that email. It takes an average of 20 minutes to fully regain your previous level of focus. If you check your phone every 15 minutes, you are never actually working at full capacity. You are operating with a self-imposed handicap. During your 6-month disappearance, your deep work blocks must be sacred. You must be unreachable. The world must wait. The second rule is the 4-hour rule. Research into elite performers, from chess grandmasters to professional athletes, shows that the human brain can only sustain true deep work for about 4 hours a day. The old you tried to work 12-hour days, filled with distractions, and wondered why nothing got done. The new you understands that 4 hours of absolute, undistracted intensity is worth more than 40 hours of busy work. Your goal is to schedule these 4 hours during your peak biological window, usually immediately following your morning routine. When you sit down for a deep work block, you have one goal, one tab open, and one mission. To facilitate this, you must create an environment of isolation. Your brain is highly sensitive to environmental cues. If you work in the same place where you eat or watch movies, your brain will struggle to settle into focus. You need a deep work sanctuary, a desk, a corner, or even a specific pair of noise-canceling headphones that signals to your subconscious. We are now in the forge. In this space, there is no social media. There is no news. There is only the output. You are not checking in on the world. You are creating a new one. During your 180-day transformation, deep work is how you solve the time paradox. People will ask how you learned a new language, built a business, and transformed your body all at once. The answer is that you stopped multitasking and started ultratasking. You gave 100% of your soul to the task in front of you for a set period. Then you stepped away completely. This pulse method, intense focus followed by intense rest, is the secret to sustained high output. It prevents the burnout that destroys most hustle cultures. Deep work also has a profound effect on your self-respect. There is a specific type of satisfaction that comes from finishing a 4-hour block where you have truly pushed your cognitive limits. It is a clean tired. You feel a sense of mastery and competence that no amount of likes can replicate. This internal validation feeds back into your emotional stoicism. When you know you are outworking your competition in the dark, you no longer feel the need to shout about your progress in the light. Your results will do the talking for you. As you move into the final months of your transformation, you will find that your focus stamina has increased. In the beginning, 40 minutes of deep work might feel like an eternity. Your brain will itch for a distraction. But as you train this muscle, You will be able to slide into the deep effortlessly. You will find that you can produce 1,000 words of high-quality writing or solve a complex financial problem in a fraction of the time it used to take. You are becoming a high-output machine. The shock you deliver after 6 months is the sheer quality and volume of your work. While others were thinking about starting a project, you have finished 3. While they were researching via social media, you were producing via deep work. You have created a body of work that is so polished and so substantial that it appears to have been created by a team of people, rather than one individual in a room. Deep work is the bridge between your disappearance and your reveal. It is the process that turns your internal changes into external reality. You have cleared the distractions, you have mastered your emotions, and you have built the physical energy. Now, through the power of the deep, you are forging the actual products, skills, and assets that will make the world take notice. You are no longer just a dreamer. You are a builder of the highest order. Chapter 9. The Loneliness of Growth. As you move into the final stages of your 6-month transformation, you will encounter an obstacle that no gym session or financial spreadsheet can prepare you for: the profound, often jarring silence of the heights. Evolution is a lonely process. When you decide to disappear and focus on yourself, you are intentionally breaking away from the herd. Most people find safety in numbers. They find comfort in shared mediocrity and collective distraction. When you stop participating in the normal world, the complaining, the mindless entertainment, the weekend escapism, you create a gap between yourself and everyone you used to know. This is the loneliness of growth, and it is the final tax you must pay for your new life. Growth is inherently exclusionary. To say yes to your future, you must say no to your past, and that often includes the people who inhabited it. During these 180 days, you will notice that your old social circles start to feel alien. The jokes aren't funny anymore. The conversations about celebrities or office politics feel shallow and draining. You have changed your frequency, and you can no longer hear the static of the old world. This isn't because you have become better than them in a moral sense, but because you have become different in a functional sense. You are a high-performance machine trying to run on a track designed for bicycles. The first stage of this loneliness is the departure. This is when you stop being invited to things because people have realized you're no fun anymore, meaning you no longer provide them with the validation of joining in their bad habits. You are the one who goes to bed at 9 p.m. You are the one who doesn't drink. You are the one who talks about systems and discipline instead of gossip. At first, this feels like rejection. It feels like you are being left behind. But in reality, you are the one moving forward. You must learn to embrace the social death of your old self. If everyone still likes you, you haven't changed enough. The second stage is the crab mentality. As your results become visible, as your body tightens, your bank account grows, and your focus sharpens, you will encounter crabs in a bucket. When one crab tries to climb out of the bucket, the others don't cheer. They reach up and pull it back down so they don't have to face their own imprisonment. You will hear comments like, "Don't forget where you came from," or "You've changed," or "Why are you working so hard?" Relax a little. These are not expressions of love. They are expressions of fear. Your growth is a mirror that reflects their stagnation, and many people would rather break the mirror than change their own reflection. You must develop the skin of a rhino to navigate this stage. The third stage is the void. This is the middle of a climb, where you have left your old friends behind but haven't yet reached the level of your new peers. You are in a social vacuum. This is the most dangerous time for your transformation because the temptation to downregulate your life just to feel normal again is immense. You will feel an ache for the easy laughter and the lack of responsibility. You will wonder if the reveal is even worth it. This is where most people quit. They would rather be mediocre and included than elite and alone. But you must remember, the view from the top is only accessible to those who are willing to hike the trail by themselves. To survive the loneliness of growth, you must shift your perspective on solitude. Most people confuse solitude with isolation. Isolation is being alone because no one wants you. Solitude is being alone because you are enough. During your 6-month metamorphosis, Solitude is your laboratory. It is where you do the deep work from Chapter 8. It is where you practice the emotional stoicism from Chapter 7. When you are comfortable in your own company, you become unfuckwithable. You are no longer a social beggar looking for scraps of attention. You are a social king who chooses who to let into your kingdom. You must also understand that quality requires pruning. In nature, a gardener must prune the weak branches so the tree can put all its energy into the fruit. Your life is the same. By letting go of low-value relationships, you are making room for the high-level tribe that is waiting for you on the other side of your 6 months. These are the people who will challenge you, who will understand your obsession, and who will speak the language of growth. But these people do not hang out in the old spots. They are also in their own versions of monk mode. You will only meet them once you have proven you belong at their level. As you approach the end of your 180 days, the loneliness will start to transform into peace. You will realize that you don't need 100 acquaintances. You need a few allies and a strong sense of self. You will find that you actually enjoy the silence of the early morning and the focus of a late night. You will have built such a strong internal world that external noise no longer bothers you. You have traded the cheers of the crowd for the respect of the mirror. The shock you deliver to everyone isn't just about your success, it's about your independence. When you finally reappear, people will see someone who doesn't need them. That independence is incredibly magnetic. People are drawn to those who are self-contained and self-governed. By being willing to be alone for 6 months, you have earned the right to never be lonely again, because you have become your own best friend and most reliable partner. Growth is a lonely road, but it is the only road that leads anywhere worth going. The shadows of the valley are crowded, but the light of the peak is reserved for the few. You have endured the departure, you have survived the crabs, and you have mastered the void. You are now ready for the final chapter, the moment you step out of the dark and into the light. Chapter 10, The Reveal. The 180 days are over. The blackout is lifted. The forge is cooled, and the monk mode that defined your existence for the last half year is no longer a temporary state. It has become your permanent operating system. Now comes the moment the world has been waiting for, even if they didn't know it, the reveal. But the shock you are about to deliver is not a loud, desperate shout for attention. It is not a flashy social media post or a verbal announcement of your new and improved self. The most profound reveal is the one that happens in total silence. It is the shock of a changed frequency. When you step back into the light, the first thing people will notice is not what you have, but who you are. In Chapter 1, you decided to disappear to kill the noise. In Chapter 2, you executed the old version of yourself. Throughout the middle chapters, you rebuilt your brain, your body, and your bank account. Now, your presence carries a weight it never had before. There is a specific density to a person who has spent 6 months in total self-reliance. You walk slower, you speak less, and you listen with an intensity that unnerves the distracted. You have moved from a state of needing to be liked to a state of being impossible to ignore. The shock comes from the gap of transformation. Most people change in increments, so small they are invisible. You changed in a quantum leap. Because you were gone, there was no gradual adjustment for your peers. They remember the person who was easily distracted, financially stressed, and physically soft. When they see the version of you that is focused, disciplined, and formidable, their brains experience a glitch. They cannot reconcile the ghost of your past with the reality of your present. This creates a vacuum of respect. You don't have to demand it. The sheer contrast between who you were and who you are commands it. However, the reveal is also a final filter. Some people will be inspired by your transformation. They will ask you how you did it, and they will look to you for leadership. Others, those still stuck in the crab bucket mentioned in Chapter 9, will be repulsed by it. They will try to find flaws in your new armor. They will call your discipline obsession and your boundaries arrogance. You must meet both reactions with the same emotional stoicism you mastered in Chapter 7. Your transformation was never for them. It was for the person you see in the mirror. Their approval is a surplus you don't need, and their disapproval is a noise you no longer hear. The reveal is also the moment you begin to leverage your assets. The skills you stacked in the shadows during Chapter 6 and the deep work capacity you built in Chapter 8 are now ready to be deployed at scale. You are no longer starting a journey. You are already miles ahead of the competition. While others are just beginning to think about their goals for the year, you are already holding the results. This is where you move from the defense of self-improvement to the offense of world building. You start the business, you launch the project, you take the lead. You are no longer playing the game. You are the one setting the rules. But the most important part of the reveal is the realization that the shock is internal. The world is shocked because they didn't see the work. They didn't see the 5 a.m. cold showers, the lonely Friday nights in the office, or the moments of doubt you crushed in silence. But you saw them. The real reveal is the moment you realize you can trust yourself. You have proven that you are a person of your word. You told yourself you would change, and you did. That self-trust is the ultimate wealth. It is the foundation of a confidence that can never be taken away by an economic crash or a social media algorithm. As you move forward, remember that the 6-month focus was just the beginning. You have built a machine, and now you must keep it running. You don't go back to your old life. That life no longer exists. You have entered a new tier of human experience. You have learned that 6 months of radical focus can buy you 60 years of freedom. You have learned that the opinion of the crowd is a ghost, and that the power of the individual is a god. The world is full of people who talk about what they want to do. They spend their lives in the someday phase. By finishing these 180 days, you have left that world behind forever. You have joined the ranks of the doers. You have focused on yourself, you have done the work in the dark, and now, as you stand in the light, you realize the greatest truth of all. You didn't just shock everyone else, you shocked yourself. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of your destiny. The door to the forge is open. Walk out, take your place, and never settle for mediocrity again. The world is watching. Show them what a human being is truly capable of when they stop looking for excuses and start looking in the mirror.